Now, hey guys, another installment of our great podcast. This is Paul Burgess, the Great and Powerful, and I'm Dr. Jess. And we're going to talk to you today about the interaction between belief systems and internal environment and external environment. Paul, say hey.
Yes, always a pleasure. But I think today's one is going to be a bit controversial. People are going to get upset about it. People aren't going to like what you've got to say or I've got to say. And actually, I don't really care. So we were going to do this series talking about beliefs, internal, external environment, how it all gets together. And you then last week were the perfect example. So tell us more.
Exactly. Well, about 2 weeks ago, on August 28th, I decided that I'm going to go get out for a little bit because I've been kind of stuck in here for a while. And they had pirate days here on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. So it's one of my favorite things to dress up as. And I used to like to go to the Renaissance Fair and dress. So I got my pirate costume out and I did my pirate thing and went to what's called Skull Island over here. And, had my mask on, occasionally, but it was outside. So I took my mask off and I went into this tent, where there was a lot of singing going on. It was an entertainment tent. And I spent about an hour or two there and I had a grand time. So I came home the next day. I wasn't feeling so hot. The day after, I thought I had a stomach virus, gastroenteritis. And by 3 or 4 days later, I lost my sense of smell and I got tested. And guess what? I got the COVID or the coronavirus. Right then and there, I looked at my own belief system and I said, I know all the controversies with this, okay? But I'm deciding, I'm making a choice simply not to be frightened, I'm going to get through this no matter what. Now, controversially, I'm a naturalist, but for reasons of my own, it was a choice. And I did in fact get vaccinated. I got the Pfizer vaccine in April and May. And I know the whole world was like, oh, you got the vaccines. I'm like, I made my choice. Okay. So it didn't prevent me from getting the virus. But I also knew that if I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do, that I would just simply deteriorate and end up in a hospital on a ventilator. So what I did was I didn't worry about it. Okay. I didn't even concentrate on it. Okay. I used some colloidal silver nasal spray, a little bit of not too high doses of vitamin D, my favorite vitamin mineral, which is a liquid called Protovite, some zinc lozenges, and basically rested a lot. And frankly, watched a lot of comedy films so I could laugh. It's very funny when you're laughing and coughing at the same time. This is very virulent because my coworker in this particular office, who I have no face-to-face contact with, actually caught the virus, probably through the ventilation system. But in the space of, let's say, 7 days, all the symptoms are gone. Everything's gone. My test is still positive, but that can be positive for weeks and weeks and weeks. That makes no never mind. Okay. According to the CDC criteria, once you pass about 10 or 11 days, you're not contagious anymore, regardless of the testing results. And the fact is that I worked through this. I saw my patients. Okay. And I didn't worry about it. And I took care of my internal environment. I took my vitamins. I didn't decide to go crazy on carbs or anything, just maintained my clean diet, which I've been maintaining for quite a while now. And that's it, really.
Yeah, but also there are a few comorbidities that you may have that others don't.
Yeah.
And, you're of a certain age and of a certain weight, and there's some other things that you
let me say it. Let me say it out clear. I'm overweight. Okay. Yeah. Listen, anybody who knows me, anybody who listens to me knows that, this is Jess. Okay. This is Dr. Jess. Okay. I may know a lot of stuff, but I have my issues also. Okay. And, you know, I'm a human being. Don't tell anybody. Okay. Because that's been questionable to some people. But as much as I give a good service to everybody else and take very good care of them, you know, it has been a struggle for me because I've been a compulsive overeater my entire life, which is a recognized addiction. Okay. So I'm overweight. My blood pressure is higher than it should be, although I've brought it down pretty well. Okay. And I'm 65 years of age. And those comorbidities are usually the ones that land people, you know, in the worst case scenarios. So I'm not ashamed of fact. I'm not ashamed of myself because I realize that, you know, life is an ongoing journey. Okay. And those people look at me and say, I'm not going to listen to him because he's, you know, he's overweight or he's fat or whatever. I'm like, okay, then close your eyes and listen to the words coming out of my mouth if you want to learn something. Okay.
Do you know what? Something very quickly on that. I've told this story before, I'm sure I have, but
Sure.
when I first met you, which was a few years ago now, at a seminar in London, you got up on stage and started talking, and the woman next to me just went, "Oh, well, there's no point listening to him." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, look at the state of him." I went, "Okay." Within 15 minutes of you speaking, I literally thought to myself, I might as well jack this job in, because this stuff is so much more advanced than I'm ever going to be. There's no way I'm going to be this good, which, by the way, I am. But
you are.
but at the time,
that was working also.
That was a few years ago, right? But at the time, it was like, I don't care what he looks like. What's the information that's coming out? And yeah, I get that. You know, don't go to a fat doctor and take weight loss advice. But at the same time, that's not what you were preaching. That's not what you were talking about. No. And what you were talking about was something that can make a difference to everyone's life. But interestingly, over the last couple of weeks while you've had COVID, is that even though you're kind of in the high risk group at the age and the comorbidities and everything else, one of the biggest things that kept you not having to go to hospital, and I spoke to you regularly throughout that, and there was never a time where you were like, "Oh, I'm dying, oh my God, I feel terrible, blah, blah, blah." It was all like, "Yeah, I feel all right today. I'm all right." And that belief system counted for a huge amount of your outcome. And people don't realize what strength it has. So massively important. And I'm not saying you can just think your way out of something if it's a viral problem, but what I'm saying is it contributes the same as the internal environment, the external environment, and all that kind of thing. So really important that people have that understanding. You can't do it with just,
you can't
do it with just the supplementation.
Right. You can't take there's no magic pills. Oh, by the way, I also took this thing called Wellness Formula from Source Naturals, which had all the antiviral herbs in it. Basically, what Dr. Klinghardt puts out as being all the antiviral things are in this one product. It was concerning belief systems. Everybody's heard of a person who's gone to the hospital with symptoms where, you know, they were told they had cancer and they were dead in 4 or 5 days. You know, it's been my observation after 40 plus years of doing this, that often it's not the cancer that kills somebody, it's the diagnosis of cancer and the fear that goes along with it. It has been shown scientifically over and over and over again since 1936 that fear shuts off your immune system. Mm-hmm. Right back since Hans Selye, right now to when you went to psychoneuroimmunology, neuroendoimmunology. Okay, people know about the gut, heart, brain axis and the reverse. What goes on here controls what goes on everywhere else to an incredible degree. So,
but also we know it works the other way around as well, right? What goes on in your gut dictates how you feel in your head, what your thought pattern is, what your emotions are. We know that if you've got a yeast overgrowth of certain kinds, you'll be on the autistic spectrum and have all sorts of neurological problems going on.
Absolutely.
But this works both ways. It's all dual action, and you cannot just single one out and say, "Oh yeah, I just need to take the vitamin D. That's what I need." You need to work at this stuff. You need to apply yourself. Right? I was saying this yesterday to somebody on a different podcast, and I was saying, look, people think that they can just coast through life doing the same thing over and over, and then if something goes wrong, they can just take something for it and it will change. And the the fact of the matter is, nowadays, in the modern world, we've got too many things that are against us. And we've talked about this before: water, food, air, stress, sleep, blue light, EMF, all of the things, the external stuff. You can't just wing it and think that I'll adapt to all of that stuff, it'll be fine. You have to physically and purposefully every day take action to fight against that stuff. So until people start actually putting the effort in, they're not going to get new results. They're not going to get, longevity. And all. Don't just take resveratrol because you think it's going to give you a long life. It ain't.
Yeah, it's not.
You've got to do all of these things combined. And until people get that and they realize there's no quick fix. And we talked about this before we started recording.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm telling you now, I know what the one thing is that people need to do for the easy quick fix. You know what it is?
You told me, but I'll let you say it.
They need to stop thinking there's an easy quick fix.
Absolutely.
As soon as they stop looking for the quick fix, the easy way out, the pill to take, as soon as they stop doing that and realize it's not there, then we can get on and do some proper work. And that's vital. People will not get better unless they do everything the way they should be doing it. And it's not your job to do that. If you're listening to this and you're not well or you need some help, it ain't your job. Right? You're not skilled in it. You don't understand what the implications are and how it interacts with each other. And that's where you need to find somebody that understands that stuff. And there's not that many of us in the world that do it.
No, there's not. There's very few, as I've noticed, who are, number one, skilled in taking care of illnesses that are complex and have many factors. And more than that, who are willing as practitioners to do the work involved. Yeah. We insist that our patients commit to doing the work at our direction. It's not that it's our way or the highway, but they need to, work with us. Other thing is, are they willing to do the work? Or do you have a practitioner who's willing to do the work? Do you have a practitioner who's working with you, or is and I don't mean this to be disparaging, or has an underling working with you? I know a very famous practitioner who I believe is in Texas somewhere that insists that you fly down to see her, and for this 3-hour consult, and you'll spend a half an hour with her, 2.5 hours with her nutritionist. And then that's the person who you're going to be dealing with. Now, if you're hiring myself, Paul, you should be working with me or Paul, not with somebody who is not us.
But that's the thing. You buy into the stuff that we talk about. You buy into, they seem to know what they're talking about. They've got a completely different perspective on this than most people. And the people that come to us are the ones that have not found success otherwise, right? So they've been through the doctors, the consultants, the specialists, the naturopaths, the homeopaths. They've gone through all of those different things and got nowhere. And then they tend to end up at our doorstep where we say, okay, let's have a deeper look into some of this stuff. But the other thing for people to understand, which is really important, if you work with me, and the same with Jess, if you work with one of us, you actually don't work with just us, because we are always consulting with other world-class practitioners and asking their opinions, right? Because I don't know everything.
Nor do I.
Damn straight. And Jess doesn't know everything. But we will converse about things about cases. There are lots of other practitioners. I'll say lots. There are a dozen maybe others that we know that are world class that we'll ask for advice or help or opinions on, because some things aren't going to be our gig, and we are going to need to know other things. But the point of that is no one knows everything. And if someone tells you that they are the person to work with because they know everything, that can't possibly be true. This stuff is too complex. You can't know it. It's just not a possibility.
This is what I meant by doing that. Is the practitioner willing to do the work? Okay. You mentioned that we talk to each other, which we do. Okay. Every other week we have an advanced practitioner group that gets together for this very purpose of sharing information, taking complex cases. That group is made up of 20 or so world-class practitioners that get together on a regular basis to share information, because we all know we don't know everything. One of us will give a lecture on something. We'll ask questions. I've brought several cases where I'm like, guys, I'm stuck. I need some help. And throughout these discussions, I found little pearls that helped me with somebody and got them from where they were to a point of resolution. I don't have an ego when it concerns my patients, nor do you, Paul.
Yeah.
I probably have an ego the size of Cincinnati, of course, but when it concerns my patients, I'm incredibly humble, and I will look at everything.
There's one goal at the end of it, and
Right.
that is get the person the capacity to live a incredibly happy, joyful, and fulfilled life.
Absolutely.
That's it. That is the end goal.
That's
right?
the result.
If you know that's the result you're after, then you will do everything that needs to be done to get there. And the way to do that is to not be focused on the illness and the sickness that you've had for the last 10 years.
That's right.
Once that's taken away and dealt with, you can then focus on the amazement that is there every day. Because if you don't, your life is wasted. Because one day it will stop. And once that's happened, you can't go back. It's not a rehearsal, right? This is it. You have to make the most of every day. And if you're not getting up thinking, I cannot wait to see what today brings, I am so passionate about what I'm doing, and this is a fulfilling, happy life. If you're not living that, it's not worth doing.
It's interesting because a while ago you mentioned that if you're ill, the only thing you think about all day is your illness.
Yeah.
Okay. And how am I going to get better? This has got to change. I feel horrible. And that's all you're thinking about all day. When you're well, when you have your life back, you're thinking exactly how you just mentioned. You're getting up in the day and you're saying, okay, I wonder what today's going to bring, but either whatever it does, I'm happy about it. So if you're questioning as a person, whether you need, help from a practitioner at our level, if that's all you're doing all day, okay, and it's been going on for a while, it's all you're doing all day is just thinking about your illness, and you're grasping for straws, and you're on the internet like crazy saying, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and you're going far and farther and farther afield, okay, that means you can't handle it on your own, and you should consult one of us, somebody like us, so that, because we're the people who are going to help you put it all together. Okay. It does. And I think one of the takeaways from this particular podcast is that, if you get an acute condition like COVID, okay, work on your belief system, get off the internet. Okay. If you need a couple of pieces of information, go get them and shut the damn internet off. Okay. And start working on the fact that you're not going to get worse, that this is going to be a mild case. Maybe it's been done before. Just watch comedy films or anything that gives you joy.
But I think actually you need to be working on that way before you get an acute case or something. True. Right. So that's part of what we do, right? When we structure somebody's treatment protocol, and it's like a year long, we work on having that as a default belief system, not just I'm fine, I'm going to be okay. It's about believing you are in control of your health. There's a big difference. There's a difference between saying, oh, I'm okay, and not believing it, and then actually feeling you are in control of your health. Because that is the key thing that most people lack, because they've tried all this stuff and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, it does take practice.
So getting that instilled at an early point and then showing how that affects other things is vital. So that when something does come up in an acute level, you're already in a very positive frame of mind, and you're looking at it
really well taken, Paul.
You're looking at it from a solution perspective.
Because if you're already in a state where you're, constantly ill and you're constantly concentrating on it, then something else hits, it's the fear is going to be magnified significantly.
You don't have capacity to cope with it. You're not resilient enough. You're just like, actually, that's it now. That's another thing that I've got to deal with. What chance have I got? I knew it. Told you my life sucked. I know I'm a victim. Told you how difficult it is. It always happens to me. All of that stuff, that doesn't have to be like that. Don't live that life. It's not worth it.
So here's what we'd like you to take away from this particular podcast, regardless of what's going on. Okay. Your belief system is going to run your immune system. And the fact is that if you start working on your belief system now, if something else should come along like COVID, you're going to handle it a lot better. You're going to already be practiced in the art, if you will, of thinking correctly and thinking positively and that's going to boost your immune system or regulate it, if you like. Everything else flows from that. And when you have something that you've been here, there, everywhere, and you're still ill, and you can tell that by all you're concentrating on every day, all day is your illness, then realize that you can't do this on your own. You're not going to get, there's not going to be a magic bullet, and you don't need a specialist in a particular area. You need somebody, what I like to call a specialized generalist, somebody who has a lot of tools in their toolbox, who's experienced in taking care of people who have loads of different factors and need someone who can step back and look at the big picture and say, okay, let's get together and figure this out.
It's never just one thing, ever.
Never, ever.
Always a combination of multiple things, and unless they're all getting addressed.
That's right.
You're not gonna.
Just remember, when you're looking at a practitioner, and don't be afraid to interview your practitioner. That's why Paul and I, both have a 30-minute, well, I like to call them meet and greet sessions, okay, that are complimentary, because you should interview your practitioner. And the things you should be thinking about are as follows. One, is your practitioner the kind of person who's interested in what you have? Okay, not if is it a passion of theirs? Okay, if it's not a passion of theirs, you don't want that person. Okay, two, are they willing to do the work? And are you willing to work with them? Are you willing to do the actual work? Are they willing to do the work? Because let me tell you, each case, it doesn't just fly out of my mouth or Paul's mouth. It takes a lot of research, and what you may not see behind the scenes is the other practitioners we talk to, and they talk to us. Believe me, it's a give and take. Some of the world's biggest practitioners will call Paul or call me, and the same thing, we'll call them, and they know that we're doing things for the right reasons. And is that practitioner's goal and is your goal aligned to have an amazing life? If all those boxes are ticked, you got yourself a good practitioner. But don't be afraid to interview them and make sure that you feel on an intuitive level that they're the person for you.
Yeah, 100%. Just know it's not just one thing. There's no quick fix.
Never is.
And we just want to get it right so that you can start living that life. And yeah, call us, ring us, go to the websites. We've both got links that you can just press a button and it will take you to the diary and you can book a time in. I don't know about you, but my 30-minute calls normally take an hour.
Yeah, well, I say 30 minutes, but it's never 30 minutes.
I know.
Even my 30-minute appointments, 45 minutes, an hour. That's why, I don't have an incredibly big practice, so that I have the time and the capacity to do that, exactly that, to give each person what they need. Okay. And that sometimes means that I meet them weekly, every other week, sometimes twice a week. It all depends on what their needs are. And that person's needs are the primary thing in my mind. And that's why we're so successful at what we do. All right, people, we'll see you again next time. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take care, brother.
Yeah, Jess.